Hey everyone, it's Dylan and Charlie from the Black Forest Wood Company. This week we're going to be creating 5 custom employee awards that are whiskey bottle castings. So this is actually a custom commission for Journeyman Distillery. So we haven't done one of these whiskey casts in a while. I hope you guys enjoy and let us know what you think. So for these castings, the clients have actually requested a solid walnut base to go in the bottom. So that's what Jack's placing in right now. We picked some pieces of Clara walnut and it's very satisfying actually the way they just kind of glide in there down to the bottom. And then the next step of the process is to just pour a really small base layer in the bottom of this, and essentially the point of that is to kind of secure that block of wood in place. And then we can also paint some epoxy on the bottom of the bottle just so we don't get as many air bubbles, and put that bottle in to kind of hold it where we want it to go for the casting. So this step is kind of critical and important to make sure you get it all lined up the way you want it. And then once this layer has begun to cure and it's actually held that down, we can then go ahead with the rest of the pour. Once the pieces have sat in the mold for 7 days, they're then ready to be popped out and we can actually start machining them. Sometimes you can pop it out a little bit sooner, but I would wait till 7 days to actually start machining it. One question we get all the time too is, can epoxy be cut with regular tools? The answer is yes. We're using all the same blades, knives, and cutters on our machinery here as we would if we were cutting wood. The only difference that you will notice is that the epoxy is definitely going to dull your blades a lot quicker, so be prepared to do some blade changing. Then once we've got our square reference faces on the outside with the jointer, we can go over to the panel saw, line that up to the fence, and cut this through to size. Another thing here that you'll notice, which is common with all of our castings, is our saw blade isn't tall enough to actually cut them in a single shot. So we just have to use a stop on the other end of the fence and then flip the pieces 180 degrees and run them through a second time. Once everything's sized, we then like to put a small bevel on the outside of our pieces. It just makes them a lot more comfortable to handle and gets rid of that sharp edge. And then optically, once they're polished up, it kind of gives like this nice reflective surface that just kind of adds another dimension to the castings. I always think like when we put a bigger bevel, they almost kind of look like a gemstone or something like that. So personally, I'm a fan of larger bevels on the castings, but we always leave that up to the client. Once we've got our bevel done, then becomes the long extended sanding process. So if you do not like sanding, I would definitely recommend to not try castings, because that's pretty much 50% of the work or more on these castings. Our process for sanding begins all the way down at 120 grit, and we then work our way up to 4,000 grit. And I'm quickly going to run through the stages so you know which grits we use. So we go 120, 150, 180, 220, 320, 400, 600, 800, 1,000, 2,000, 4,000. And then after all of those grits, you're ready to move on to the actual polishing stage. So we just use a Mini Max polisher. I forget where we picked it up, but it's a great polisher. We'd highly recommend it. We're not sponsored, but we'd like to be. And then we're using the Sia polishing compounds to actually build up the sheen on this, which we do sell those. We do offer the Sia compounds on our website, and I think they have like a fine, a medium, and a heavy cut. So you would start at your heavy, go to your medium, and then for the final grit you would use your fine. And that's actually going to remove a lot of your scratches from the orbital sander that were created, and it's what's going to give you that full, nice clarity in the piece. And of course, the final step after all of this would be applying the Black Forest ceramic coating. You can also use the graphene coating. It'll actually give a little bit more durability, but that is a step you're not going to want to skip when you're doing these castings, because if you go and do all that nice work to polish it up without a coating, it will be very susceptible to scratches. Bottom of these, we've got custom plaques for the employees that these are going to be going to. So those are just aluminum plaques that have been laser etched on there. And of course, we've used our Black Forest deep resin, we've polished these, and we've applied our Black Forest ceramic coating. All right, well, I hope you guys enjoyed seeing our process of doing these castings. We don't show as many of the castings anymore because we're kind of worried that you guys were maybe getting a little bored of them. But we still do a lot of these castings all the time. We're having people reach out for things they want cast. Like, I think right now the next one we have coming up is these like antique soda cans, tab soda cans. They're very old and very rare or something, and we're casting them in a pyramid, so that'll be coming up soon. But you can order all the supplies that we use to make this off of our website. Let us know if you have any questions too. We're more than happy to help answer those. And please subscribe, like the video, and we'll see you next week. Charlie, what do you think? Charlie? Hey.